All right, now we're going to talk about learning target number 4, which is the cell structure and function, or the organelle structure and function. So we're going to start with the cytoskeleton. Cyto, that prefix is going to refer to cell. So there's cytoplasm, which is kind of like all the goopy stuff that all the organelles are held in the cell. The cytoskeleton, just like our skeleton, gives us support, structure, shape. That's the same thing that the cytoskeleton does. It is going to maintain the cell's internal structure. There are some different types of fibers that are used in the cytoskeleton. The first is the microtubules. These are going to be the largest. They're like tubes, and you can see this picture over here. These are going to be your largest. Then we have intermediate filaments. That makes sense. Intermediate's kind of a middle. Think of this as like your middle size. This is going to give the cell its strength. So here are some intermediate filaments. And then we have microfilaments. Micro, that prefix refers to very small. This is going to enable the cell to move and divide. Actin filaments, this would be an example of your micro right here. They're going to be your thinnest. Okay? So the cytoskeleton gives it framework and it gives it protection, and it allows things to move along it, which we'll get to when we talk about cell functions. All right, so another organelle, and the last screencast I talked about the organelles. We have organs, liver, heart, lungs, all that stuff that do jobs for our body. The cell has organelles. They just mean tiny organs, okay? So the nucleus is one of the organelles. And remember, all of these organelles, some of these things that we're talking about are found in both prokaryotic and... Oh, Roxy just had a big yawn. She's tired. I'll put another picture in at some point. What was I saying? Oh, prokaryotes don't have organelles. They have some of these things, but they are simple. They don't have a nucleus. All right, so we'll clear that up when we talk about this stuff in class. But the nucleus in eukaryotic cells, this is going to be the control center. It contains the DNA. The DNA is the master blueprint. It is never, ever, ever, ever going to leave the cell. So we actually end up making cheap copies of it. Remember, we had our nucleic acids, which is DNA and RNA. DNA is our double helix master blueprint. It is never going to leave the nucleus. Sometimes we need to get that message outside of the cell. So when we do that, we make a copy of the master blueprint, and that's in the form of RNA, and that's what's actually going to leave the nucleus. So RNA can be found in two places, the nucleus and the cytoplasm. DNA is only found in the nucleus, never in the cytoplasm. Next, we have our ER and ribosomes. The ER stands for endoplasmic reticulum. This is the part that surrounds the nucleus. There's two parts, actually. There is smooth and rough ER. The rough ER, is going to be more of a highway system for proteins, all right? Smooth ER is more going to be the breakdown of drugs and alcohol, all right? So the ER is going to make... help in the protein making process. So if this is our nucleus, the ER is going to be this highway system that kind of folds back on itself all the way around the nucleus. Part of it is studded with these ribosomes. That part is called the rough, obviously, because it has little bumps on it. Okay? And then part of it is smooth. That smooth part does a completely different job than the rough part. Rough part is going to be the highway system for helping make our proteins. Smooth is going to be the help in detoxification of drugs and alcohol and things in our tissues and organs. I should also add that the ribosomes, the main thing you need to know with these is they make proteins. Okay, remember we talked about the proteins as one of our big groups. Proteins were made up of amino acids, so we're going to talk a lot more about ribosomes and how the ribosomes help to string together that polypeptide chain that eventually is going to fold into the protein. The Golgi apparatus, or just the Golgi, is going to be kind of like the post office of the cell. It sorts proteins, it packages proteins, it delivers and ships proteins. It kind of has a look like the ER, but it's just a little further off of the nucleus. So if you look at this cell over here, this would be ER. So all of this part is going to be your ER. All of this part is going to be your ER. Your Golgi is going to be looking like this. This is kind of zoomed in Golgi. It kind of looks like the ER, but it's also going to have these. You can see these kind of little circular vesicles, they're called. We'll get to that in a couple slides. These little vesicles move things around. So if you think of the cell as being a protein-making machine, that's basically what it is making as its final product. The Golgi is going to receive proteins, kind of package, ship them, make sure they're ready for delivery, make sure it has the stamp, make sure it has the correct zip code, and then it's going to send it off the other side. So it's kind of like the post office. We're bringing in letters, we have our stamps, we have our zip code, we pay the fee or the package price, whatever it is, and then they take it in the back and it's going to leave a different door. Okay, similar thing to what the Golgi does, except for instead of mail, it is packaging, shipping, and sorting proteins. This brings us to the vesicles. Vesicles are like little, I always remember vehicles. All right, the vesicles are like the vehicles. They transport stuff around the cell. So when we had that picture of the Golgi, we had this. I really like drawing organelles as well. I should have made some of these wider. Anyways, we had those little vesicles. Those vesicles were vehicles bringing proteins that had just made to and from the Golgi. The mighty mitochondria. This is the powerhouse of the cell, all right? It converts molecules of food we eat into usable energy. Kind of looks like a kidney bean with a bunch of folds on the inside. I usually draw it like this, and it has all these folds, all right? Mitochondria, it is taking our food, converting it into energy, and that usable energy is in the form of what's called ATP. We will talk more about ATP. Vacuoles are like little fluid-filled storage sacks in the cell. They store all kinds of things, water, food, enzymes. Animal cells are made up of many small vacuoles throughout the cell. The plant cell has one large central vacuole, so this is a plant cell. It has one big vacuole called the central vacuole. That's one of the main differences between plant cells and animal cells. Plant cells have one large central vacuole, and guess what it's holding? H2O. All right, our lysosomes are another circular-looking sac in the cell. They are going to contain enzymes. These are digestive enzymes that help the body get rid of pathogens, bacteria, any organelles or damaged cell parts that need to be get rid of. That is the lysosome's job. So sometimes, there she goes. Who is walking by? Who is it, Rox? Oh, you're fine. Good job defending the house, though. So they are, back to this, the garbage collector of the cell. Okay, just like we have the garbage company come and take our trash out, this is exactly what the lysosome does for the cell. Good shake, Rox. Oh, good sneeze, Rox. Come sit up by Mommy. Come on. Come sit. All right, we're going to talk more about these two organelles when we get to cell division, because the centrioles are found in this centrosome region. And you can see here this picture, they help with cell division and moving chromosomes around when we get to that. So we're not going to spend too much time on it here. Basically, they're made up of microtubules, and they grow out of the centrosome region and help in cell division. All right, then the last two organelles that we're going to talk about are also two things that are only found in plant cells. We have a cell wall. So sometimes it's found in algae, fungi, most bacteria, plants for sure, but never in animal cells. Okay, never, never, never will you find a cell wall in animal cells. All cells, plant, animal, and bacteria, have a cell membrane. That's just your outer boundary. But the cell wall is an extra layer on the outside of plants, algae, fungi, and most bacteria that gives it support, protection. I mean, if you think about it, plants and trees and bushes and grass are standing up against gravity, and they need to have that extra support to help them maintain their structure. Then the last organelle, again, this one is only found in plants. It is the chloroplast. We've talked a little bit about photosynthesis. This is the organelle that carries out photosynthesis and converts solar energy into energy the cell can use. So this is found in plants and green algae. All right. I bet you're waiting to see if there's going to be a picture of Roxy. You've made it all the way through the screencast, so you're going to want a picture of Roxy. So next slide, you're going to get one. Great job with the notes, you guys. We'll see you next week. Roxy just didn't want to give me a smile today. She's pretty sleepy. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Awesome job with the notes.